Welcome to the Sarah Strat Show. This is a podcast about rebuilding, ambition, mindset, creativity, relationships, success, and figuring life out in real time. I'm your host and friend, Sarah Strat, and here we believe that you do not need to have everything perfectly figured out to start creating the life you want. So whether you're rebuilding, reinventing yourself, chasing after big dreams, or just trying to get unstuck, you are in the right place. I hope this podcast feels like a conversation with a friend as we all figure it out together. Now let's dive into today's episode. Ready or not? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Sarah Strat Show. It's so exciting to have you here and join me on another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about adjusting on the fly, so making life work with what you have at any given time. So in today's episode, I want to talk about something that pretty much all of us face at any given time in our lives, which is adjusting to change when life doesn't give us a perfect roadmap. Maybe you move cities, maybe you've changed careers, maybe a relationship ended, maybe you've started over financially or emotionally or physically in some way or another. Whatever it is, sometimes life just hands you a completely different set of circumstances. And it's often not what we expected or asked for. This is something that is always on my mind, especially since we have so many life changes that we need to adjust to at any given time. I myself have moved countries twice in about an 8-year period. I built an entire life from scratch, moving from Vancouver, Canada to London, England. And then after 6.5 years, I decided to move back to Vancouver and had to start an entire life all over again from scratch. So those are some pretty significant big changes, and they also came hand in hand with relationship changes, career changes, lifestyle changes, physical, emotional changes, and being able to adapt to those things, like completely different cultures, routines, friendships, opportunities, making new friends, finding out different careers that might work for you in a different continent, are all things that do take a significant amount of work. And sometimes you do have to figure it out kind of rapidly, because moving from Vancouver to London was a huge adjustment. And I moved there by myself with whatever prep work I had prepared, and then everything else was figuring it out on the fly. So that was learning how to apply for jobs in another country, what career I wanted to pursue there, how to get an acting agent in London, everything, learning it from scratch, what areas to live in, how to make friends. It's all something that you have to adjust to on the fly. And this topic was even more on my mind because I actually recently moved apartments. So me and my partner moved in together about 2 weeks ago, which is really very exciting. And even that is a positive change, but it requires an adjustment period, right? Where suddenly my routine is different. My environment is different. Both or all of our environments are different. And things just aren't, exactly how they used to be, because I personally, and maybe you can relate to this, am a creature of routine and habit. And I had my little, space that I loved. And when I moved back from Vancouver, I set up my home and made it a nice, safe place for myself. And everything had a spot. And having to move and adjust that, even though it's an exciting time period, because it's an exciting change to move in with somebody that you love and care about, it's still a big adjustment, because that space that you created for yourself is now entwined with somebody else's space. So you have to figure out how things work together, which is different. And your brain starts to process maybe 1,000 little tiny decisions all day long, which is a lot considering we're already making thousands of decisions and thoughts on a daily basis. So when we're adjusting to a big change, like a career change, a school change, a relationship ending, a friendship ending, moving countries, if it's something as big as that, or just trying to adjust to some new kind of confidence level that we have, or a change in our own bodies or hormones, or who knows what it is, this podcast is for you. What I've learned the most throughout my extensive life experience is that people who thrive during big situations of transitions aren't necessarily the people who have a solid plan, right? I had a plan when I was moving countries, but it wasn't a step-by-step plan that I could follow precisely, with nothing ever going wrong ever and not having to make adjustments, right? I had to learn how to work with things on the fly, and the people who really thrive when they're making changes are people who are comfortable and confident with being able to make changes and adjust to changes as they come at them with the options that are available to them right now at the time. One of the biggest things that was holding me back from a lot of changes, and sometimes still does when I'm trying to work on a new project or something like that, especially with ADHD, is waiting for the perfect condition. If I'm waiting for the perfect condition, I won't make the move. And that was the case when I moved to London. It was the case when I moved back to Vancouver. Neither of those situations were the perfect condition, especially the move back to Vancouver. And I had to learn how to make adjustments on the fly that would work for me and make me feel comfortable and organized so that I could continue to move forward. And I used to tell myself a lot, and I'm sure you can resonate with this as well, that once you get settled, you'll start. Once this is right, I'll start. Once I have more time, I'll be able to do that. Once I feel calmer or there's less stress going on in my life, then I'll be able to get back on track. Then I'll be able to focus. Then I'll be able to put my mind on that project. And you know what the problem with that is that life rarely lets us calm down. It rarely gives us a huge blank space where all we have in the world is time to work on a project that's a passion of ours. It just doesn't work like that. Life is constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, just as you're constantly changing and you're constantly evolving. There's always another task that comes up, there is always another responsibility, there is always something new, there's another unexpected challenge just around the corner. And how are we going to deal with that? How are we going to cope with that? Instead of waiting for those ideal conditions, maybe you can ask yourself, what can I do with the resources that I have today at hand? How could I make some kind of a step in the right direction with what I have available to me right now, with the time I have available to me right now, with the environment that I have available to me right now? If I can't change my environment or my job, if I'm stuck in a certain position and maybe I am unable to find a new job, how can I make that work for me in the meantime? Right? That's super important because sometimes we can't change our environment. What resources do I have available to me right now? Not next month, not 6 months from now, not next year. Not when everything is perfect, because it never will be. A spoiler alert on life, I know, but life is never going to be perfect. But what do I have available today? Sometimes that progress looks less like building the dream to build the next step off of the foundation, which maybe was just a thought or a dream or an idea. Like when I moved to London, it was just an idea. I had an idea and I thought, you know what? I would love to do that. And that idea evolved. I put a picture of a British flag up on my wall and I started putting resources that I had at the time together to make little steps towards progress for that move. Now, depending on what you're going through when these changes are happening, you do need to protect your mental bandwidth, the amount of energy that you have to cope with things. And that can vary on a day to day basis, it can vary on an hourly basis. Right? We don't always have our full capability in front of us at any given time. When life is changing, our brain is working in overtime. We're trying to find solutions while also recognizing problems and cognitive behaviors and different areas of our lives to pinpoint what is happening, how can we fix it, and it's working rapid fire. Even if the change is exciting, our brain is still doing this. It's processing the new routines, it's processing the new environments, it's processing new expectations put on us by ourselves or by others. Maybe if you're moving into a shared environment like I am, right, with my partner, there's new responsibilities and new expectations of each other because everybody has their own personal boundaries and personal space. And we have to learn how to evolve with that and make that work for one another. And it's the same thing when you're going into a new career or a new school or moving to a new country. One of the most important skills that you can probably learn is how to protect your mental bandwidth so that you don't lose all of the energy that you have. And my dad always used to say to me that I was a candle burning at both ends. And like seriously. And sometimes when life was kind of chaotic, it was a stick of dynamite that was burning at both ends because I didn't know how to calm down. I didn't know how to slow down. Everything was urgent, everything was important, everything was too stressful, overwhelming. I didn't know how to compartmentalize my thoughts or different responsibilities that I had into different areas of my life. I just felt like this incredible overwhelm, like I had to deal with everything all the time and didn't give myself a break ever to say, you know what, Sarah, you don't have to deal with everything right this second. Nothing, the world isn't going to fall apart if you take this one problem that's happening in your life, even if it's a very serious problem that's happening in your life, and put it over here for a little while. That problem that's compartmentalized over here for a minute allows you to free up some time to work on other things in your life, right? I can't get everything done all at the same time. So how can I organize my attention like a battery, right? What am I going to plug my attention into for this hour-long period? Like right now, it's the podcast. A few hours ago, it was working on something else because I can't do everything at the same time, and multitasking is a lie. Multitasking just means you're doing a bunch of tasks inefficiently. I stand by that because I used to call myself a multitasker. And I feel like when you're multitasking, you're not giving anything your full attention, and you're therefore denying yourself the true satisfaction of completing a task the way you want it done. So every decision that you make in a day at any given time is draining that battery, your battery of attention. And some examples of these are thoughts that we have, right? So what should I eat? What am I going to wear? How do I do this task? When do I organize this? Did I remember to call that person? Did I pay that bill? Did I do this? Did I do that? Did I do this? It on and on and on and on. Did I reply to that text message? Who's that email? Like, our brain is thinking of a million things at any given time, right? And you might have heard of things like some CEOs who like to wear the same outfits when they go to work because it takes away that one decision so you don't have to make it. I tend to do that a lot myself. I'm not wearing like a suit every day, but I have like 4 of the same t-shirts that I love and 2 of the same pairs of jeans because I know they fit my body, they're comfortable, and I can wear them. They're clean when I want to wear them, right? And that outfit works for me. And so then bam, that decision is taken away and I'm able to just be like, okay, I can put this on. I know I'm going to look cute. I'm going to feel comfortable as well. And I don't have to think about that. Individually, all these different things can seem like they're small, thinking of these thoughts, but when they're all coming at you at a million miles a minute and your brain is in constant overwhelm, it doesn't feel small. It feels like, okay, I am freezing now because I can complete none of these tasks, but I have so much I need to get done. I have so much on my plate. So where do I start? One technique is to simplify your temporary decisions. So I just talked a little bit about how we can do that with our closet, right? What about eating differently? How can we eat something that we know is going to be healthy? It's going to give us good sustenance. It's going to give us energy. It's balanced. And maybe we don't have to think too hard about it. So maybe it's a simple breakfast. Like something I like to have is Greek yogurt with some berries and chia seeds and granola. It could sound overwhelming to make that, but it's literally a scoop, a handful, a little sprinkle, and you're eating it. It's super simple and it's balanced. It's fiber, protein, fruits. It's everything that you need in a tiny little, quick, easy to grab breakfast. So how can you incorporate something like that maybe takes away, maybe you're doing a bit of meal prep. Maybe there is one day a week that you go grocery shopping and decide what it is that you're going to have for that week and you plan that out. And that could take you a few hours at that time, but it's going to save you hours of mental duress while you're trying to work on other tasks and thinking about like, oh, what am I going to have for dinner? I've got to go to the store. I don't have that ingredient. I don't have that. What if they don't like this? It takes away that decision process. So that works the same thing for creating a weekly routine. This is something I am not going to lie to your faces. I still struggle with this, but I do try to plan out my weekly routine, but as the week goes on, not a month in advance, because that is too overwhelming. My weeks change. I'm an actor. I have also a part-time insurance job that I do. I have podcasts. I have social media. So I have auditions. I have streaming. I have a lot of different moving parts and I cannot do them all, right? I also have hobbies. I have book club, I have ballet, I have stunt gym, I have different things that I enjoy doing that I want to do or hot yoga or something like that, right? So there's different things that I want to do. And what I try to do is I look at my week on a Sunday and I go, okay, this is what my week looks like. Some things may change. An audition might pop up, a shift might pop up. I might be able to go do stand-in on a TV show or something. That could change on the fly. But overall, I look at my week and I go, okay, here's my calendar. this is the day I can go to the gym. This is the day I can go to a ballet class, and I'll book those things. This is the day that I have time to edit my podcast. Here's 4 hour period, and I'll block that out in my calendar. I will make sure I have the shifts that I have for my part-time gig in there, and any like client calls or something like that that I need to make. I block out time so that I know that that is my routine for the week. And that has helped me in so many ways because freezing mode still happens to me a lot. It happens to me a lot, but it happens less when I have that structure set up for myself and I know that I'm going to follow through on what I've committed to, right? Because if it's in the calendar, it's happening, right? If it's in the calendar, it's happening. You can make that promise to yourself. Sometimes it gets broken, right? Something happens, maybe you're extremely sad one morning and you don't want to go to ballet. Okay, fine. That's fine. But for overall, make sure that you are following through on promises that you make to yourself because that's going to help with your confidence and it's going to help with your self-esteem because those are promises that you're making to yourself. There's nobody else letting you down except yourself, right? So we want to make sure that we're practicing self-love and we're showing up for ourselves in a way that makes us feel fulfilled, but also makes us feel like we're accomplishing something because that's so important. It isn't a goal to become rigid and like every minute is planned and every hour there's no time to relax. Like, no, forget that. I still love to like game and hang out and read or spend time with friends or play some games or whatever it is. The overall goal is to reduce that unnecessary amount of stress that comes with decision making process or spiraling out when we don't have a plan so that our energy can be spent on the things that really do matter, like that project that you want to get finished, that book you want to write, that friend that needs your help that you want to spend some time with, hanging out with your family, reading that book that you really wanted to finish, whatever it is, you have more time and energy to spend on that. When we're adjusting to changes, whether they're small changes or major changes, everybody deals with changes differently. But we often try to maintain our normal standards in all areas of life, right? At the same time as juggling changes. But if it's a major transition, that might not be realistic. So sometimes you have to just accept that what you're doing at any given time, if it's working towards your goal and your self preservation and peace of mind, then that is okay. That is enough. That is enough at any given time. Maybe your apartment isn't perfectly decorated, or maybe it isn't perfectly clean. Like when we moved in together 2 weeks ago, it was absolute chaos. It was chaos in here. There was so many boxes piled up to the sky. And in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna unpack everything that same day and the house is going to be completely set up and I'm going to wake up in the morning, it's going to be like I lived here forever, right? And everybody will be happy and it'll be a nice clean space. That was not realistic, okay? Because it was a lot of moving pieces. There's multiple people involved, there's things that we have to adjust and change, there's things we have to maybe give to charity, or put in storage, or there's so many moving parts, right? So I had to give myself grace to live with the boxes and live with the stress for a little bit, and so did they, right? Because it's affecting everybody, but some people deal with that kind of change easier than others. I had more of a struggle with it. But now, after slowly being like, okay, this piece of the puzzle I can put away tomorrow instead of hurting myself and staying up till 2 a.m. trying to get it all done. And now everything has a place for the most part and it feels better in here. Or another example would be you're trying to set up a consistent gym habit, but it's hard for you to make that routine. And so maybe your enough is just getting to the gym and walking on the treadmill for 10 minutes and going home. And at least you got out of the house, you went to the gym, and you did something. You did something there, and that was enough. And the next day, maybe it's 15 minutes. But at least getting there and going there is helping establish that routine. And it's giving you that dopamine hit of this is hard and it's a hard routine to set up, but I did it. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. Because the goal when creating routines for yourself is stability. It's stabilizing yourself and your mind instead of searching for perfection in everything that you're doing. What is the minimum action that you could take towards your goal for the day? It doesn't have to be a maximum every single day. It can be one thing, something that is that one thing that keeps the momentum going forwards. We can also focus on building temporary systems. So, temporary systems help us to have solutions to problems that don't necessarily, it doesn't create permanence, right? So, you need something to be fixed, but it doesn't need to be a permanent solution, but it does need to be done. Something needs to be done about it. So, maybe you need a temporary budget. You need a temporary morning routine because you're in the middle of a change and you cannot set in stone a morning routine right now. Maybe it's going to take a few months for you to be able to establish a true morning routine. But in the meantime, you still need something that makes you feel good about yourself. Or maybe you need a temporary workspace because you're in the middle of a big move, but you still need a space that allows you to focus on your writing or editing or whatever it is that you're doing for work. Or maybe you need some kind of temporary meal plan because you are having a big change in your schedule and you're not able to cook at home like you used to, or something like that. This is about reducing stress, not perfection, right? So it's temporary. Life comes at us rapidly, it changes on the fly. How can we create temporary systems that will still make us feel like we're stable and provide some clarity in the moments of instability? That is an excellent, excellent technique to be able to pull out of your arsenal when you are under pressure. You can go, oh, you know what? I have a solution for this. I have a way that I can cope with this thing that's just come up, and this is it. Another great technique that I have to offer you is to focus on the bigger mission as well too. So perspective shifts are important when you're going through changes, no matter what kind of changes they are. They're a relationship change, you had a big breakup, you're dealing with a big career change. There's the immediate things that need your attention, right? That we can deal with. And then there is the need to still focus on the bigger mission, right? If we become overwhelmed, we zoom in. We zoom in onto minute details of something. We focus very little on the overarching problem. It's just human nature. We focus too much on the tiny little details of things instead of focusing on the overarching problem at hand that we could potentially deal with in a different way that causes our brain less stress and uses less energy for ourselves. So instead of focusing on every inconvenience, every unfinished task, you need to zoom out and ask yourself, what am I building here? What am I losing here? What in this relationship that failed can I step back and see the bigger picture about how maybe I'm going to be in a better position once I heal and move forward from that relationship that didn't work and wasn't serving me, which I ended for a reason, or they ended for whatever reason they had. If my career is changing, maybe I was laid off and I didn't get to choose. I didn't get to make that choice for myself. But the bigger picture, instead of focusing on every tiny thing that maybe you could have done wrong, or things that were out of your control, or being hard on yourself about that stuff, what is the bigger picture? What is the zoom out? Is there a way to look at it from a different perspective of maybe this is an opportunity for a career that we love more? Maybe it's an opportunity to find ourselves. Maybe it's an opportunity to create something that we've always wanted to create. Maybe it's an opportunity for us to build a happier life. When we zoom out, those minor inconveniences or uncertainties become temporary. Pile of moving boxes in my house become temporary. They're not forever. The uncertainty about the career change. Am I going to be good at this? Am I going to like it? Am I going to do this for the next 10 years? It just becomes temporary because we can live in the moment. That learning curve of learning about a new hobby becomes temporary because we can give ourselves time and grace to learn that. You're focused on where you're going, not just where you are in this very moment right now, which can cause a lot of overwhelm if you're only focused on this, what is currently happening right now. It's important to be able to zoom out. And one of the most important things is to give yourself time. I just mentioned giving yourself grace for some things, but this is the biggest part of adjusting to things on the fly, is giving yourself grace, giving yourself an adjustment period, allowing yourself to sit inside that uncomfortable zone for longer than you want to, so that you can adjust and make important progressive steps forwards towards the life that you do want, that is going to come out the other side of all these big changes, of all these big adjustments. Some of them are not your choice. Some of them are your choice. These changes are things maybe we that were decided for us, or they're things that we decided. No matter what it is, you have an opportunity to give yourself time to adjust. Give yourself that grace. There doesn't need to be constant pressure on yourself. Your new job feels awkward. That's okay. Give yourself some grace. You feel like you're awkward meeting everybody and you're overwhelmed and putting so much pressure on yourself to act perfect or mask or be a certain person for everybody. Just give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Your new home feels unfamiliar. Mine did. I first moved in, I didn't feel at home here. I'm slowly adjusting. I still am. It's only been 2 weeks, right? It still feels like, okay, I'm learning things, I'm figuring it out. Like we both are. All of us are, because it feels unfamiliar. We got to give ourselves grace, give ourselves time, give ourselves time to adjust, learn new habits, right? Learn each other's habits. If your new routines feel uncomfortable, well, that's bound to happen because new routines are hard. New routines are hard adjustments. So give yourself grace. Give yourself grace and time to adjust to the new routines. It's normal. It's normal to feel uncomfortable when changes are happening. We don't need to have everything figured out immediately. Everything doesn't have to work perfectly all the time. In fact, one of the healthiest things that you can do is just acknowledge to yourself that I am adjusting, that I need time to adjust. I need time to heal. I need time to process. I need time to recognize what this means for myself. And you owe yourself that grace because you deserve the grace that you give to others when they are also experiencing a difficult time in their life. You deserve all of that grace and love that you give to other people. And that isn't failing, that isn't falling behind, it is adjusting. And it is so important to allow yourself that grace. Every single major life transition and minor transitions come with a learning curve. Even Maximus, he had a adjustment period moving in. I was a bit worried because the first 48 hours he was acting super different. He was scared, he was shy, he was having, if anybody's that's listening to only the audio, Maximus Aurelius has just jumped on the video, which you can watch on my YouTube channel. He's my cat. And he had an adjustment period because there's another kitten here named Misa, and they had both been single cats. So they didn't know how to have other cats in the house, and they're still adjusting to that as well too. So even cats need grace. The last technique I'm going to talk about for adjusting to things on the fly is asking yourself some questions. All right? Quick question reset to see what will help with the overwhelm. Okay? So, question 1, what absolutely has to get done today? You're going to realize pretty fast that a lot of the stuff you're worried about does not absolutely have to be done right this second. It doesn't. It does need to get done. Don't use this as a way to put things off for months. That's not what we're talking about here. But question 2, what can wait? What can wait? What needs to be done right now and what can wait? Podcast today, for example, it couldn't wait. I had to do it today. This is the only day I have time for it. I actually blocked out time yesterday to film it, but I had things that changed yesterday on the fly and I needed to make some adjustments. So I made room today to film it. So yesterday it needed to be done, but I was able to make an adjustment on the fly, move some things around, and film it today instead. And question 3, what would make tomorrow easier? I love talking about future Sarah. I have a text thread in my phone to myself where my phone number is saved as future Sarah. And I text myself things because I always want to make future Sarah's life easier, right? Because right now, future Sarah could be stressed, right? But tomorrow, maybe she doesn't have to have that stress. It's simple things like I run the dishwasher before I go to sleep because when I wake up in the morning, everything's clean. Future Sarah is happy. She's like, oh, I've got clean dishes. It's great. Little things like if I'm running low on gas and I know I have to be on set tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., I'll make sure I stop and fill up gas, even if I'm exhausted the night before. Because future Sarah is going to be super happy that there is a tank full of gas in the morning when she's fumbling into the car at 6 a.m. and has to drive an hour to go film something. Future Sarah. So future you, what can you do to make future you use life easier? These questions can really help reduce chaos because if you're always thinking like everything is a crisis, then everything will be a crisis and you will be in a constant state of crisis. But if you can compartmentalize things and understand that not everything is a crisis, I can organize my thoughts, I can process what I need to get done, and this is how I'm going to do it, then you're prioritizing instead of spiraling. And you can stop carrying everything all at once. You can put it down because things get heavy and we don't need to carry it all. We don't. So, if you're listening to this podcast today while you're going through a major adjustment, I just want to leave you with this one thought. You do not need to have the entire journey figured out. You do not need to have the entire journey figured out right now. You only need to take care of the next few days, the next few steps, and create a routine that's going to work for you. You can adjust to things on the fly. If something is going to come up and it's not going to work, you can change it, you can move it, you can pull something forward, you can navigate change in a way that helps you feel stabilized. And the people who are successfully navigating change on a daily basis and look like they are just managing their lives in the most expert way possible, they're not necessarily the smartest or luckiest or most prepared. They could be people like me who have ADHD and a lot of stress and have grown up being described as somebody with a candle lit at both ends or a stick of dynamite lit at both ends. But they are able to keep moving. They are able to adapt. They have taught themselves skills that allow themselves time and self-preservation. They give themselves grace. You deserve grace. Maybe they focus on what's available right now. Maybe they are able to step back and they're able to look at the bigger picture. They can just zoom out a little bit. What's important right now? What trust can I give myself that I'm going to find clarity through action? If you have recently moved or changed careers or ended a relationship, started over, or found yourself in a season of life that looks very different than what you expected, I would love for you to let me know in the comment section if you're going to use any of this information to help yourself or what things you found help. And I'd like you to remember this: the discomfort that you're feeling today is evidence that you're growing into something new. That discomfort that comes with change is evidence that you are evolving, that you are capable of change, that you are capable of great things, that you're able to accomplish your dreams. Those routines that feel super unfamiliar right now, and that new partnership or that new career that feels like you're just trying to figure it out and how do we work together and how do we do it, it's going to become second nature. Good things take time. Allow yourself the time. Allow yourself the time. Sit with the changes. Adjust to the changes. That new place, it's going to feel like home one day. You can make it feel like home by slowly giving yourself the grace and ability to adapt and make adjustments. And that challenge that feels overwhelming, that you felt like you would never accomplish ever, that is one day going to become part of your story, that you're going to proudly share with other people and say, look at how I overcame this very difficult situation I was placed in. It'll become part of your story and empower you to keep evolving and opening new chapters in your life that allow you to move forward. So keep going, keep adapting, keep building. You are always doing better than you think you are. Promise you that. And every single small step forward counts. Thank you so much for listening today. I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful, wonderful 2 weeks. Love you. Thank you so much for listening to The Sarah Stratz Show. If today's episode resonated with you in any way, I'd really appreciate if you took a moment to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it too. It genuinely helps support the show and allows our community to grow. You can also find more information, updates, and resources at sarahstrat.com, and join me across all social platforms at Sarah Strat to continue the conversation and follow the journey. And if you're also rebuilding, reinventing yourself, healing, chasing a big dream, or just trying to figure life out one step at a time, I hope this podcast reminds you that you're not alone in that. Thank you for being here, and thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next episode of The Sarah Strat Show. Until then, keep going, keep growing, and remember, you do not need to have everything figured out to begin. You can start whether you're ready or not.